A new Gallup poll showing him with a job approval rating of 49%. That is the best of his entire presidency. Joining us now is Bradley Honan, Democratic pollster and founder and CEO of the Honan Strategy Group. Bradley, always a pleasure to see you. When Bill Clinton was impeached, he actually saw a similar bump in his approval numbers as well. So is that kind of what we're seeing here, this sort of post-bump impeachment thing that he's getting?
I think we're seeing two trends. One is the base, the Republican base is fired up as never before. What the Gallup poll also tells us is that President Trump's support among moderate, independent swing voters that are going to be so decisive in November are also lifting up. But you mentioned Bill Clinton, and there's such an important parallel, Baker. The economy is what's driving President Trump's surge in his approval ratings. People say the economy's doing very, very strong. 59% say it's excellent or good. 63% approve of president's handling of the economy. That's at a high water mark for the last 20 years of any
Which
president.
is probably why he had most of his State of the Union speech pretty much most about the economy.
And
touting as his biggest success, and this is despite a trade war that President Trump created with China. To what extent are voters who are maybe on the fence kind of buying into this rhetoric? What do these numbers tell you about how much people are attributing the success of the economy and the markets to President Trump?
I think there's an economic argument that says a lot of this begun under President Obama. I think politically, Trump is getting all the credit for it right now, and that's a big reason why he's surging and doing so well.
Have we seen that in the past where a president is either running for re-election or in an election cycle where the success is attributed to the incumbent and voters maybe aren't even thinking about who started the success of the market?
Go back to 1991 and the economy was improving under the first president, George Bush, and it's Bill Clinton who got the credit for the economic recovery. So I think there are a lot of parallels that we're seeing again, and I think it puts President Trump in a very, very strong position because I think, as he demonstrated in the State of the Union address the other night, he is a master showman and he is able to take credit for every ounce of what you're describing.
Yeah, good point. So how worried at the end of the day should Democrats be about these numbers?
Incredibly worried, incredibly worried. The combination of how the economy is doing and I think his showmanship. I think a lot is being made, obviously, of Pelosi ripping up his speech the other day. And I think there was a sense of frustration that Trump is willing to lie and say things that he has no problems and no fact-checking on. But I think the other part of the frustration is how effective he is. He is a master marketer, he is a showman, and he is putting out a shtick that people buy, and I think voters believe it and are taking it up.
Yeah, to that point, he can state something that sounds like a fact on its front, but if you flip it over, it's really not. How he brought up food stamps, how millions of Americans have been lifted off of food stamps. It's really that they've been booted off of food stamps. Just how risky is the framing that President Trump uses, even when he's trying to describe things that seem to be facts, but you got to really dig in to really understand where it's coming from.
Facts be damned. I think Ronald Reagan had the nickname the Teflon president. The criticism, the attacks didn't stick to him. And I think we've seen no better example of President Trump, who can basically say and do anything. It doesn't stick to him, and he's able to market and sell the case for why America is in a recovery and why he deserves credit. To answer your question, he's going to be a very, very difficult opponent to beat, and I think that's the frustration that you're hearing from a lot of Democrats right now.
Yeah, Bradley, we're going to take a quick pause for a second because President Trump is coming out right now for a press conference where he says he is going to address the impeachment inquiry. All right, there you have live coverage of President Trump doing a press conference showing a newspaper headline from the Washington Post saying he is acquitted. Earlier this morning, he did that with a USA Today newspaper as well. Let's bring back our friend Bradley Honan, Democratic pollster and strategist. I want to get to this new thing that just popped just a few seconds ago from Tom Perez, the DNC chairman. He just tweeted just a little bit ago, "Enough is enough. In light of the problems that have emerged in the implementation of the delegate selection plan and in order to assure public confidence in the results, I am calling on the Iowa Democratic Party to immediately begin a recanvass." Really powerful statement. Explain to our viewers what that means.
It means that what has happened is absolutely calamitous. It's a total disaster. It's a total nightmare. And what it's done is a couple of things. It's obviously undermined our thought process of where Iowa goes in the process and the nomination process and how early they are in the calendar year. But I think the other thing that we're seeing are enormous divisions that existed in the Democratic Party 4 years ago between the Sanders camp and the Clinton camp are being reopened. And this is about as bad as putting salt in the wound again. There is a lot of suspicion that it's rigged, that it wasn't done properly, and it's a total mess. The other thing is it hasn't done is provided any clarity about who is likely to be the nomination.
Yeah, all right, we'll have to end things there. Bradley Honan, great stuff as always. Democratic pollster and founder and CEO of the Honan Strategy Group. Bradley, great as always to have you here.
Bradley.